Every manifestation teacher assumes you can sit still for 20 minutes and hold one clear image in your head. If your brain works like a browser with 47 tabs open, that advice was never designed for you. Most manifestation techniques were built for a specific type of mind: linear, calm, able to sustain a single thought long enough to feel something about it. And if that description makes you laugh because you lost focus twice just reading it, you're exactly who this is for. Because a scattered mind can manifest, it just does it through a completely different door. The standard formula goes something like this: get clear on what you want, visualize it in vivid detail, feel the emotion of already having it, hold that state, repeat daily. Sounds simple. And for a brain that can lock onto one channel and stay there, it works. But for a mind that jumps between 17 thoughts in the span of a breath, that holding pattern collapses before it even starts. You sit down to visualize your dream life, and within 8 seconds you're thinking about whether you left the stove on, then a song lyric appears, then you remember a conversation from 2 years ago, and now you feel guilty for not focusing, which spirals into shame about why you can't do what everyone else seems to manage effortlessly. That spiral is where most people with scattered minds quit. They assume they're broken. They assume manifestation requires some monk-like discipline they'll never have. But the spiral itself reveals something useful about how their brain actually operates. A scattered mind moves fast. It makes connections between unrelated things. It can feel 12 emotions in 30 seconds. And emotion, the thing every manifestation teacher agrees matters most, is something a scattered mind produces in abundance. The problem was never a lack of feeling. The problem was trying to force that feeling through a narrow channel that doesn't fit. Think of it like water pressure. A garden hose works fine for most people. Steady, directed, calm. Your mind is a fire hose. Trying to attach a garden nozzle to a fire hose doesn't make the water more precise, it just makes everything explode. You need a wider opening. A different delivery system entirely. So, what does that actually look like in practice? The first shift is dropping the idea that you need sustained focus. You need repeated microcontact instead. A scattered mind touches a thought, bounces away, then circles back. That circling pattern is a feature. Every time you return to the idea of what you want, even for 3 seconds, you're making contact with it. 3 seconds of genuine feeling about your desired reality, experienced 40 times throughout a day, adds up to 2 full minutes of pure aligned emotion. Most people who do a 20-minute visualization session spend maybe 90 seconds in actual emotional contact with their desire. The rest is mental effort, distraction management, and performing focus. Your scattered 40 touches might carry more real charge than their disciplined session. The key is removing the guilt from the bounce. When your attention drifts, you haven't failed. You've completed 1 rep. The drift is the rest between sets. Your mind will circle back on its own. It always does. That's what scattered minds do. They return to things, obsessively, sometimes. The trick is making your desired reality one of the things your mind obsessively returns to. Which raises the question, how do you make something sticky enough for an undirected mind to keep circling back? Emotion is the anchor, but a specific kind. Scattered minds respond to intensity spikes, brief moments where feeling concentrates. A slow-burning gentle visualization does nothing for a brain that needs stimulation. You need the equivalent of a highlight reel. 1 sharp image, 1 sentence that punches, a single moment from your future self's life that makes your chest tighten. Pick the most emotionally loaded snapshot you can find. Maybe it's the look on someone's face when you tell them the news. Maybe it's the weight of a specific object in your hand. Maybe it's a sound, a door closing behind you as you leave a place you've outgrown. 1 frame, vivid, loaded, that's your anchor. You don't need to hold it for 20 minutes. You need to flash it like a strobe. 3 seconds, feel it. Let it go. Your brain will bring it back later on its own. Because intense emotional images are exactly what a scattered mind chews on. Now, there's a second problem that trips up scattered minds, and it's subtler than focus. Scattered thinkers tend to want multiple things simultaneously. The dream career, and the relationship and the body transformation, and the creative project, and the financial freedom, all at once, all with equal urgency. Traditional advice says pick 1 goal, narrow down, focus your energy. And again, that advice works beautifully for a brain built to go deep on one track. For a scattered mind, forcing yourself to choose one thing creates a kind of inner rebellion. The unchosen desires don't go away. They generate static. Resentment, a feeling of being trapped. So, instead of picking one, find the thread that runs through all of them. There's usually a single feeling underneath every scattered desire. Freedom, safety, being seen, creative expression, aliveness. When you identify that core feeling, you can contact it through any of your desires. The career version, the relationship version, the creative version, they're all doors to the same room. Your mind bouncing between them stops being a problem. Every bounce still lands in the right emotional territory. A person who wants financial freedom, a loving relationship, and a thriving creative life might find that all three orbit around the feeling of spaciousness, room to breathe. Once spaciousness becomes the target, instead of three separate goals, the scattered mind has a single emotional frequency to return to. And it can get there through any of its 47 tabs. There's a third piece that rarely gets discussed, and it might matter more than the other two combined. Scattered minds carry an enormous amount of unconscious resistance because of how many times they're being told their way of operating is wrong. Every report card that said, not reaching their potential. Every job review about attention to detail. Every relationship argument about listening. That accumulation builds an identity layer that says at its core, the way I naturally function leads to failure. And you can't manifest from a foundation that assumes your operating system is defective. This is where the scattered mind actually has a hidden advantage. The same brain that struggles to hold one image for 20 minutes also struggles to hold a limiting belief for very long. Fixed, rigid beliefs require sustained focus too. A scattered mind is constantly destabilizing its own assumptions just by the way it processes information, touching an idea, drifting, returning with a slightly different angle. Beliefs that would calcify in a linear mind stay fluid in a scattered one. You can use this. When a limiting thought surfaces, I can never follow through, or I always sabotage myself, the scattered mind will naturally move away from it within seconds. The mistake is chasing the thought, trying to fix it, analyze it, argue with it. That's engagement. That's focus. And suddenly you're giving your best sustained attention to the one thing you don't want. Let the scatter do its job. The thought drifts in and drifts out. You didn't grab it. It has no weight. The real manifesting practice for a scattered mind is almost embarrassingly simple. Flash your anchor image whenever it naturally surfaces. Let yourself feel it for however long the feeling lasts, even if that's 2 seconds. Release it without judgment when your mind moves on. Trust that your mind will bring it back, because it will. Notice that underneath your multiple desires lives one core feeling, and let yourself access it through whatever doorway your attention happens to land on. No 20-minute sessions, no vision boards you'll forget about in a week. No apps with streaks that become another source of shame when you break them. Just a mind doing what it already does, bouncing, touching, circling, returning, with one emotionally charged image woven into the rotation. The part that makes this hard to accept is how little effort it seems to require. A culture that equates discipline with results has a hard time believing that 3-second bursts of genuine feeling could outperform structured hour-long rituals. But effort and alignment are different currencies. You can spend an hour efforting your way through a meditation you hate, generating frustration that directly contradicts your intention. Or you can spend 3 seconds in a flash of real joy about something you want, 40 times a day, while making breakfast and losing your keys and forgetting why you walked into the room. That second version carries more charge, and your brain is already built to do it. The people who struggle most with manifestation often have the most powerful emotional engines. The volume is already turned up. The sensitivity is already high. The capacity to feel something deeply and quickly, already there. The entire system is already running. You just needed permission to stop forcing it through someone else's process. Your mind was never too scattered to manifest. The method was too narrow for the way you think.